Good morning. So you can all relax. I'm not going to get all weepy and weird like I did last time. It's going to be a happier talk, okay? Happier talk. Yeah, Mary and I have been working with these titles, working ourselves, working with you, and it's been entertaining. There's a pleasure I have, and that's looking at some of the Facebook postings of little children. And the one that got me, that I so resonated with, was Art Link Letters, Kids Say the Darndest Thing. Did you guys see that on the Facebook? Well, Art Link Letter was talking to one particular little African-American boy. He was so cute. He has a little bow tie and his suit on, and he's about 5. And he was asking each child what they were going to be when they grew up. And his answer was, I'm going to be a bus driver or a pilot. And so, Art Linkletter, only as he can do it, was nodding. And then he goes, so tell me now, what would happen? What would you do if you were flying the big plane and all 4 engines went out? And he put his head down for a moment, and then he goes, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. I just thought, oh my gosh, hey, that's my go-to, and I just thought, through the hearts of children, that was instant. His answer was I'm going to go to the one. I'm going to go to my source and pray my way out of this. And so we're talking today about, it is about diversity, but more about how can we come to terms with some of our differences that we seem to come upon with other people in our world. And so this is an invitation for you to sometimes explore some of your versions. They could be so simple, and they could be not really related to some of the big diversity ideas that we have going on in our world right now, but they could be something very simple. And so I just want you to just explore yourself, because this is an invitation for you to learn about yourself. Really, all we can do is change ourselves. We can't really change our world. So any conflict that you now might start thinking about, it's going to show up in part of you that maybe you really haven't fully explored. Maybe you've allowed it to just be a wall that you come against, and you just think, I'm going to walk away from this, I'm not going to deal with it. I'm not comfortable with this or that, so I'm just going to walk away. And I'm going to hold on to how it's been because I'm comfortable with that. And to explore it any deeper is going to make me uncomfortable. So this is an invitation here today to sit in the sanctuary with each other and recognize there's only one love here. We can call this by many names. And that's probably part of the challenge, because we're speaking to this one that is nameless, the Tao, the God, the love, the thing itself, in Ernest Holmes' words. We're talking about this field of potentiality, this field of grace, this field of love. That's what we're talking about. And so when we try to name that, we start to put some kind of boundary around it. So the invitation for you is to stay in the ocean, stay in the large, vast sea of just letting yourself float in that deep knowing that there is one. I remember a long time ago we had Season for Nonviolence. There was a song from Guru Mai that had to do with one, and I just would lose myself in this song about oneness. And then somebody came from another faith path and said, that's not true. There's so many, there's not just one. And I'm always like, well, we know that there's multiplicity, but there's only one. It's one of those, well, yeah, but, and it's sort of, it's where you explore. So I need to start this talk with that invitation for you, is to name yours. Don't go by what my name is, and then wrestle with that throughout the whole talk. Because the whole concept behind Center for Spiritual Living, this idea, and I quote, this is, we embrace the understanding that God, Spirit, life, has taken an unique an individualized form in and as each one of us. We celebrate Spirit as we honor the different individualized expressions of each of us. So we are one, but not the same. And this oneness is speaking to that universal life force. It's in all of us, and like I said, we call it by many names, but may I just share with you, let us call it just love, and that field of love that has no boundaries. So the invitation in the talks that I'm doing today is for you to look past any preconceived idea that you might have been holding, anything that's stirred up in you already that you realize, I struggle with this difference in others. It could be political, it could be gender, it could be, any sense of sexuality choices, it could be cultural, it could be a race, it could be any of these big, large ones, or it could be something very small. So look at that and be willing today for this hour together to look past any preconceived idea you might have. Offer this kindness that the Dalai Lama spoke of. Offer it to yourself first. Begins there. Offer that kindness to yourself. Because he continues in his wisdom that he says, deep down, we must have real affection for each other, a clear realization or recognition of our shared human status. At the same time, we must openly accept all the ideologies and systems as a means of solving humanity's problems. One country, one nation, one ideology, one system is not sufficient. It is helpful to have a variety of different approaches on the basis of the deep feeling of the basic sameness of all humanity. We can then make a joint effort to solve the problems of the whole of humankind. Well, that's what you're going to do today. You're going to solve all the problems of humankind. Oh my God, I'm so glad I came. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. So there's a story that I wanted to share, and this is from The Love of God. It's a handbook of different spiritual stories. And watch how quickly this can happen. This particular story is by Barbara DeAngelis. She's a PhD, and she says, I want to tell you a story about me. It illustrates what is essential about creating a relationship with God in your everyday life. This past summer, while attending a meditation retreat, I was sitting with several thousand people, waiting for my teacher to give a talk. I had just come out of a long period of meditation and was in a fantastic state. I felt completely full and ecstatic. That's how you're going to leave here today, full and ecstatic. The next speaker, who was a visiting professor, appeared and began his presentation. As I listened to him talk with great precision about some scholarly subject, I noticed a little thought creeping into my mind. I don't think he's really going to be very effective. He's reading his talk. I can hear you guys going, she's reading the book. Not, you didn't say it like that. She's reading the book. He's reading his talk, not giving it from the heart. I didn't pay much attention to this criticism, but a minute later I had another judgmental thought. He's quoting a lot of esoteric references that people won't relate to. And with that thought, I noticed my joyous state starting to contract. Ever happened to you? That joyous state starts to contract. That's our own personal suffering. And then what we tend to do is name it outside ourselves. Their fault, right? Maybe. I began to feel restless and irritable. My body, which had been quite comfortable for hours, was suddenly hurting. Then all of a sudden, critical thoughts and judgments began pouring out of my mind, one after the other, like roaches creeping out of the woodwork. I watched in horror as my ego revealed itself in its full negative glory, until at the end of 10 minutes, I felt angry, dry, separate, empty, miserable, and completely devoid of love. At that moment, my beloved teacher appeared, bringing with her an ocean of love, laughter, and delight, which everyone proceeded to bathe in for the next hour. Everyone but me. I couldn't feel her love because I had cut myself off from that love. I was stuck in this self-made hell of separation, and I remained there for the rest of the evening. I fled to my room at the end of the session and wept for hours, praying to be delivered from the prison of my own mind, praying that I would find my way back to love again. This experience was one of the most painful, yet most important. In fact, it was a priceless gift. During that excruciating hour, I saw exactly how, with the tiniest the tiniest critical thought, I had separated myself from God, from love. I separate myself from my own loving heart. I separate myself. I'd never seen so clearly how much the mind's negativity can bury you in your own darkness. Seeing the contrast between my previous state of ecstasy and the subsequent state of agony, and seeing this disintegration happen so quickly and dramatically, was indescribable and a profoundly life-changing experience. And it showed me from that moment that the only person in control of my connection to the One is not that God is deciding to connect me or not, depending on whether I've had a good day or not, or whether I've done a good deed or not. It's all up to me. The awareness of God, the love of God, the blessing of God, that lively ecstasy is always ever present. It is me who separates from God by judging, by indulging in negativity, by criticizing myself as well as others. How's that fit? Yeah. So we understand. We understand this. It's why we come to community together, to sit with one another and to explore, well, how am I in the world and what have I bumped into in this day? And there's a practice that the invitation for you is to start your day with a prayer, but with an intention to say, may this day unfold with grace, and may I follow as an instrument of the One. Something so simple, so from the heart, not a whole long, drawn out prayer or ritual, and then you do 108 salutations. It's just, can you set your intention with the smallest blessing of the heart, where your mind and your heart unite into that field, and you say, this is how I'm going to choose my day to be, and may my footsteps follow that, and all that glory. And then the day unfolds with experiences of the One, allowing you to see, okay, how am I in this? How am I practicing this truth? Now, in the end of the day, you might have stumbled several times. And it is that time, this is the most important time sometimes, we go to sleep at night still berating ourselves for when we were less than what we wanted to be. And it is that time we bless ourselves for our unskillful ways, and to know that the next day we take a breath again and we say our holy prayer one more time, and we offer ourselves into the world one more time. And at night, we assess how it was, and we go to sleep with that prayer of our heart. So it's a continuum of forgiving the self, of knowing the self. So we are studying all of the ways. What I love about this teaching is because we're not formed into a certain dogma, where the invitation here is to explore all faith paths and to find the truths that fit you, that allow you to feel, that can guide me, that can lead me, that opens my heart. There's this idea in nonviolent communication of creating a matrix with one another, creating these they call them pipes, but it's in the matrix work, you connect heart connection with every individual. And you keep trying to find not so much what is different, but where are you have common ground? Where have you all had the same suffering, had the same loss, had the same joy? And dwell there instead of focusing so much on the limitations of what is so different and what is so hard. So every faith path, everyone has a truth, and you'll discover that as you start to explore similar ideas of love, the same goals of trying to benefit humanity with spiritual practices, with service, with seva to each other, trying to make things better in the world. Every faith path teaches us moral concepts. They try to perfect our human beingness in such a way, body, mind, and speech. And you find the one that speaks to your heart, that wakes you up, that is that nudge that says, I choose no longer to tell any more lies, small or large. I choose not to maim or to harm anyone. I choose to allow my acts to be from the unselfish place, and to encourage a path of goodness to be laid out before me and behind me. So we put down the arguments of what is best, and we find what is the greatest teaching that is stirring inside of you, a peace of mind, a peace of heart, that you can serve your fellow man. Where do you find yourself then criticizing or judging? Are you in that moment remembering the self, the deep self, the true self, the innocent self, the one that was born so innocent and cried into the world and looked around without any imprints upon it whatsoever? That innocence, that field is what we want to cultivate, this part of ourself. And we allow what teachings are going to motivate us to love and to allow, as the Dalai Lama put it, this kindness to others. So we start with this field of love. And you can think, I'm going to kind of go off track here, but you think that you're creating this field of love. So in my home, I have a lot of cats, and often I've talked about my cats. It's a field of love for these cats. I don't go out and buy them except one, and that one disappeared recently, so I'm brokenhearted about that. But most of them have come my way just by showing up at the doorstep. And I love them. They're in a field of love. But I do have my favorites, right? You get a favorite over another one, and it seems like because I favor one or the other, people that come over and going, oh, that one's cute, what's her name? That's baby girl. Oh, that one's kind of ugly, what's that one? That's Buster. And then, and it's like, poor Buster. He looks like a big bowling ball. He's got a really homely, ugly face, but he's like longing to be loved. And so I feed him and I love him and I talk to him, but if I pick him up, he does one of these, one of those kind of things. So you're thinking, well, you've got boundaries. And so, but this field of love, it's the same home, it's the same love of animals, the same rights, they all get the same food, nobody gets extra, they all get the same treats. But people notice which ones I love more. And I thought, isn't that interesting? And then I have one that I told a talk a long time ago because it came from a litter that we got from the neighbor and brought it back. And beautiful little kitten, raised it from that very beginning. You would think that it would be so bonded to us. But maybe it was when Charlie chased it out from the back of the dryer with a broom. I don't know what caused its trauma. But we named it Hissy Fit. And so I thought, you're just not getting anywhere, kitty. And so I changed its name to Gandhi, thinking, okay, I'm going to change your name to Gandhi. You have something to live up to. And now people go, well, who is that? That scrawny, skinny. I said, oops, that's Gandhi. And it kind of leads kind of a Gandhi life. It doesn't want anything. It's trying to show unconditional love. It loves all the other cats, but skinny, scratches its hair out, and it's just, I know, it's sad. I can't catch it to take care of it in the way that I would want to, like torture it and take it to the vet and have a bath. But anyway, I digress. So have you had those ways of being in your own life where out of nowhere, suddenly you have an aversion? I'll speak to that again. Here's another one of mine. I have no idea where this came from. It came from another life, and you're going to think, what? But my daughter's got it too. And no, it has to do with spores. Spores on ferns. When you look at the leaf of it just makes me sick. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with me? Why? And somebody will offer me a bouquet of flowers, and I'm going, inside I'm thinking, oh God, it's got a fern. I need to have the courage right now. I can't even see the beauty of the bouquet because I see the fern, and I've got to say, oh, but it doesn't have spores, white ones or black ones. And I can feel myself right now, even talking about it, getting all sweaty in my fingers and a little sick in my stomach. And I'm thinking, what is this? Why would I be so creeped out about spores? Because I was so creeped out, my daughter has the same thing. We look at it. People at work found out I had the spore fetish, and they would stuff my locker full of old ferns with spores in it. But I'm like, well, you see, we sometimes have feelings that make no sense, right? So we can have a feeling of somebody different from us that makes no sense. We can't even see their beauty, the bouquet of who they are, because, they got spores. I remember this was so sickening to me that when I was working my first job as a clerk on a dry cleaning, a man came in and he was getting hair transplants. So he had hair plugs all through his head, and he leaned down and I went, oh! And I ran to the back and I said, I can't take care of him. And they said, what's wrong? He's got hair plugs. And she's going, hair plugs? And I said, don't ask. I don't understand it, but I. And so she went out there and took care of him, and I was watching her from the side, and she's looking at him as he's writing his check, kind of going, well, it does look kind of different. But what is that? Do you have those? Please. Not spores, but just anything. Anything that you feel suddenly your heart's contracted a little bit. Suddenly, viscerally, you feel something. Have you ever taken the time to understand why? And you know what? This could be another human being. They're innocent. They are absolutely innocent. But they have a way, they have a familiarity, they have something that engages that part of your brain, the reptilian part of your brain that makes you recoil, that makes you... And so the invitation here, the beauty of this, we are evolving our consciousness. We are. That's the beauty of this teaching as well. This teaching is evolving us to look deeper, to stay indwelled in our spiritual practice in such a way that we lift beyond the mundane. We lift ourselves into the sacred, into the frontal cortex of the brain, where potentiality for this greater truth, for the window that has caused the separation suddenly opens wide to the vast sea. So much research has been done in the science that from years past, way back, William James time, they have these testimonies of people that are in deep meditation, and they have this experience of a stairway that's rising, and at the end of the stairway is just pure light. Now we've seen that we read about that we've all seen it in near-death experiences. We've read about it in near-death experiences, and maybe you have had that near-death experience where you're going to the tunnel, you're going to the light. So the science is proving there is this place in our brain that reveals this divine light. And when you allow yourself to take those steps, to walk those steps and move towards the light, suddenly, all that you've been feeling that has separated you one from the other, gone. Suddenly you're in a place of euphoria and bliss, lasts for days. This is the spiritual practice. This is the invitation that we linger longer in our prayers, that we lift our consciousness out of the mundane into where we got the creeps about this or that, to the beauty, to the one, to the truth, to the light, that we all discover that stairwell to the truth. And it dwells with each one of us as us. And I think that's exciting. I think that's an invitation for us to see past where we have been stuck. Your aversions, your feelings might have been so strong that, again, you can't identify the source. But the Dalai Lama, I'll take you back to his words. His invitation is for you to use your brain, but use your heart and find an absolute balance there. Because if we just use our mind to sort this out, we're out of balance, we're out, and we separate ourselves from God because the mind is sometimes so wrapped up with the personality and the ego and the ways that others have imprinted upon us. So you allow this sense of merging of mind and heart, and we then have a path through to the heart, from the heart. And when you dwell and when you operate from the heart, when you recognize, I'm not contracted whatsoever, I'm so open here, I'm feeling such love in this auditorium, and you allow yourself to stay saturated in that pure light, then we can let go of what the mind has impressed upon us, and we're in harmony. And when we're in harmony, we're in love. We're in that field. And that's where the differences disappear. So closing with the Dalai Lama again, he says, when I meet new people in my mind, there's no barrier, there's no curtain. And the Dalai Lama, he really walks his truth. He's in our lifetime, and so to get to have the privilege to watch his genuine smile, to get to listen to him and his way of being in the world is such an opportunity for us to be cloaked with that degree of love, to see what it is to live and allow that light to permeate his being. So when he meets new people, in my mind, there's no barrier, no curtain. As human beings, you are my brothers. You are my sisters. There's no difference in substance. I can talk with you as I would an old friend. With this feeling, we can communicate without any difficulty and make heart-to-heart contact based on such genuine human relations. Really feel for each other, understand each other. We can develop mutual trust and respect. From that, we can share other people's suffering and build harmony in our human society. That's your invitation this week. Let's just explore. Just invite yourself. May I be true to myself? May I begin here in the temple of my own being and polish my own heart's ways? And to look at the ways where I've been afraid because of conflict, to approach that which I don't understand. May I look at it with new eyes, eyes of the heart, so that I can bridge that and find my new way. Krishnamurti says, you are the content of your consciousness. In knowing yourself, you will know the universe. So we're looking at ways to transcend and to discover that real self that dwells within. So never just assume a teaching. Never just take it for face value. Take it, digest it, and just know who you are in it. Open yourself up and express that truth. Because remember, this mind of ours, this beautiful gift of mind and choice, it can operate in the world in such a way that you make such a difference. But it can also separate you. It can separate you from where you're really actually choosing to see God in everything, choosing to see the oneness. Instead of naming what is wrong, start seeking and naming what is not different. Very subtle. What is not different? It's a different approach to being very mindful in your world. And it will polish that heart space. It will allow you to take another step on that stairway to the one. So join with me right now in a brief meditation of just feeling your unique expression. Close your eyes and just feel like right now we're all floating in a sea, an ocean of the perfect temperature, each one of us floating, eyes open to the vast sky, floating on our spines in such a way that we are weightless and free. The calm waters of the one. Embracing each one of us, we're aware of ourselves in this sea of perfection. We're aware. And every now and again, a current stirs within us, and we feel within ourselves a wave of potentiality stirring inside of us, an idea of changing humanity. And we watch ourselves rise as an individualized expression of that one, and then we blend back with the sea. We keep allowing ourselves to be the wave and return to the sea. To be the wave and return to the sea. To find that rhythm of grace as we float into the eternality of all that there is, where our soul, where the sense of the call of love just permeates the sea, permeates. and we feel a conduit of connection, each with the other. As we recognize sometimes as our wave rises, we see to our side that our fellow man is rising with us. And as we sink down again into the sea, there too we are together, held in the sea of love. So you see there's no boundaries. There's just an interconnectedness, a possibility of potential for peace, for understanding. There's nothing different here. And in this place, we offer the prayer of our hearts that there is only this one love operating in and through each and every one of us. It has stirred us today as a wave to follow the sea, to arrive here in the sanctuary of love and intention. It is offering itself fully, open, embracing, within and without, each one of our individualized ways in expressing this truth. So right here now, we breathe in truth. We breathe in and allow grace to be that which touches our heart, touches our word, and holds our tongue forevermore from speaking harm or judgment or criticism to another and to ourselves. And in this glorious way, we offer this generosity of kindness into the self and into humanity and into the world. This is the day that we choose to operate from the heart and the mind in truth. I give thanks for the wisdom of all of these teachers that allowed this understanding to be brought forth today through nonviolent communication, through the wisdom of the scientists and the teachers of our heart, that we now know that we are here on a purpose to change humanity in such a way that we ourselves are forever basking in that sea of love. No boundaries. Thank you, God. No boundaries. I release my word into the one law, into the one truth that oversees all that there is. And I again leave it in gratitude, knowing we are filled with grace and blessed in every way. Together we say, and so it is. Thank you for listening.